At a used car lot on a quiet afternoon, the air feels still as rows of vehicles sit waiting for their next owners. The lot is calm, and the faint hum of traffic passing by the main road is the only sound that fills the space. Bright stickers on the windshields show the year, the mileage, and the asking price, giving the scene a familiar look to anyone who has browsed used cars before. Then something unusual appears. A row of electric vehicles sits beside similar gas models, all from the same year, yet their price tags are dramatically lower, almost out of place among the rest. One shopper pauses in front of a black EV, leaning slightly closer to the window as if trying to understand what he is seeing. The interior looks clean, and the seats show almost no signs of wear. The odometer reveals fewer miles than any of the gas cars nearby, which only adds to his confusion. He steps back and glances at the sedan to his left, noticing that the gas model costs much more despite having been driven farther, and his expression shifts into a quiet disbelief. A salesperson walks toward him with a calm smile, moving as someone who has seen this reaction many times before. He explains that the electric models are in good condition and that nothing mechanical is wrong with them. Still, their prices fall faster than many owners expect, and he mentions that even customers who traded these cars in were surprised by how little they received. The shopper listens, but his eyes stay fixed on the numbers printed on the bright sticker. He looks at two cars that are nearly identical in shape and age, yet one has lost so much more of its value, and he wonders what he might be missing. Across the country, similar scenes are unfolding in large dealerships, small lots, and online listings where prices for electric vehicles continue to slip from week to week. Families searching for an affordable car scroll past listings that seem too low to believe, then pause as the same question rises quietly in their minds. Why is an electric vehicle losing value at a speed that a gas car from the same year simply does not? And why is this happening now, when these vehicles cost less to operate and offer a quieter drive? Beneath the surface of these falling prices, a deeper pattern is beginning to appear, shaped not only by buyers and sellers, but by decisions and incentives that existed long before these vehicles reached the lot. Across the United States, electric vehicles have been supported by federal and state programs that lower the upfront cost for new buyers, making the switch feel more attainable for many households. The idea of saving several $1,000s encouraged families who might not have considered an electric model before, and these incentives were introduced with the hope of helping cleaner technology reach the mainstream. But inside the used market, the effect of these programs moves in a different direction. When a new buyer receives a large credit, the starting price of the vehicle drops before it ever leaves the showroom, and that lower starting point quietly follows the car throughout its life. A used buyer who looks at the resale price is not thinking about the original sticker. They are thinking about the adjusted value, shaped by the belief that the first owner already paid less because of a credit. Even if the original owner never used the incentive, the market behaves as if they did. And this assumption becomes the baseline for every similar model. The expectation is simple, and it spreads quickly. If a new EV was made more affordable from the beginning, then its resale value should also sit lower, and buyers compare models with this idea already in mind. This perception creates a chain reaction, pushing used prices downward faster than owners expect, while also making shoppers more cautious when considering a brand new electric model. As they worry about losing too much money when the time comes to sell, new demand shrinks, and the drop in resale values becomes even more visible. The cycle repeats, each round of hesitation adding a little more speed to the decline, and the outcome is far from what these programs originally intended. Policies designed to encourage adoption now influence the market in ways many buyers never anticipated. Yet incentives alone cannot explain why electric vehicles fall behind so quickly, because another force accelerates the gap as the years continue to pass. As the market grows, the electric vehicle begins to resemble something much closer to a mobile device than a traditional car. The technology inside it evolves quickly, and every new update makes the previous version feel a step further behind. A driver who bought an electric model only a few years ago may return to a dealership, then discover that the latest cars offer far longer range, faster charging, and more efficient systems than the one they own. In some cases, a 2-year-old vehicle can feel as outdated as a smartphone released just a few product cycles earlier. The difference becomes clear the moment a shopper compares the specifications. The range that once felt impressive now seems small next to a newer model that can travel much farther on a single charge. Charging speeds that once required patience are replaced by systems that can power a battery in a fraction of the time, offering convenience that older models cannot match. Even energy efficiency continues to improve as manufacturers refine motors and software, squeezing more miles out of each unit of power. These rapid changes create a quiet disadvantage for older electric vehicles. A gas car from a few years ago may look nearly identical in capability to a new one, but an electric model shows its age in a way buyers recognize immediately. The moment a new version arrives with a major improvement, the previous generation begins to lose appeal, no matter how well it has been maintained. This perception has grown into a powerful influence across the used market. Buyers who compare similar models side by side often feel drawn to the newest technology because they believe it will remain useful for a longer time. As a result, older electric vehicles struggle to hold their value even when they remain reliable and practical for daily use. The pattern mirrors the pace of personal electronics, where a device can feel outdated simply because something better arrived soon after. In the world of electric vehicles, this effect magnifies the drop in resale value and pushes the market to shift faster than many drivers expect. Yet this rapid evolution of technology is only one part of the story, and a deeper factor within the structure of the market plays an even larger role in how quickly these cars lose their value. The price of an electric vehicle begins higher than many shoppers expect, and this starting point shapes everything that follows in the used market. On the showroom floor, the difference becomes clear the moment a buyer compares a gas model and an electric model with similar size and features. The electric version often costs several $1,000s more, and for many families that number is difficult to ignore. A buyer considering an EV is not just thinking about a monthly payment. They are thinking about how the purchase will affect their entire household budget, because a car is one of the most significant assets a family owns. For many households, the vehicle sits just below the home in financial importance, and any loss in value immediately affects their sense of stability. Electric vehicles have gained attention from middle-income and upper-middle-income buyers who can handle the higher upfront cost more comfortably. These buyers are willing to take on a larger loan or commit to a longer term because they see benefits in lower operating costs and new technology. But in the used market, the situation looks very different. Shoppers there focus heavily on value, and they compare every price with what the vehicle offers in practicality, flexibility, and long-term reliability. A used electric vehicle enters this environment with two disadvantages. It starts from a higher original price, and it faces a buyer group that is far more sensitive to cost. When a shopper sees a used electric model listed far below its original value, they sometimes assume something must be wrong, even when the car is in excellent condition. This perception pushes prices downward, and sellers often lower their listings to attract attention in a market that strongly favors affordability. As this dynamic spreads, the gap between new and used values grows wider. The high starting price leaves more room for the decline, and the value-oriented nature of the used market does little to slow that fall. For families, this means watching the second most important asset they own lose value quickly, and the financial impact becomes increasingly difficult to overlook. Yet the price itself is only part of why demand is limited. There are reasons beyond cost that shape the hesitation many shoppers feel when they consider an electric vehicle. In quiet moments at a dealership, or while scrolling through online listings, families often pause not because of the price, but because of uncertainty. Even with data showing that modern batteries perform well, a sense of doubt lingers in the minds of many drivers. A familiar worry appears whenever someone imagines a long trip. They picture the open roads stretching for miles and wonder whether the vehicle will have enough charge to reach the next stop, especially in unfamiliar areas. This concern becomes stronger for those who live far from major highways, where charging stations can feel scarce, even if the actual numbers improve each year. For many drivers, the idea of planning every long trip around available chargers feels restrictive, as if the vehicle limits their freedom rather than expanding it. They compare this to the convenience of refueling a gas car almost anywhere, at any hour, without thinking about routes or timing. In colder regions, another concern rises quietly in the background. Drivers imagine winter mornings when the air feels sharp and temperatures fall well below freezing. They worry that the cold might shorten the driving range or slow down charging, especially during the moments when they need the car the most. These worries persist even when evidence shows that most electric vehicles handle everyday driving without issue. The hesitation is driven not by performance, but by perception. A shopper who fears getting stuck on the road builds that risk into the price they are willing to pay, lowering the value in their mind long before it appears on a listing. When a vehicle feels less flexible or less predictable, its appeal fades, and the emotional weight of uncertainty becomes part of the buying decision. This psychological effect places electric vehicles at a disadvantage because families view cars as important assets and adjust their choices based on how safe and dependable that asset feels. As these concerns spread through the used market, the value of electric models declines faster than many owners expect, shaped not by numbers, but by emotion. Yet these worries explain only part of the decline, because another force is growing in the background, one that changes the market in a more visible and measurable way. As electric vehicles expanded into the mainstream, a quiet shift began inside the financial side of the industry, and that shift is now reshaping the used market. In recent years, a large share of electric vehicle purchases moved toward leasing rather than buying, and this change has created a powerful wave that is only beginning to show its full impact. By 2025, more than 70% of new electric vehicles were leased, a dramatic rise compared to earlier years when leasing rates were far closer to those of gas vehicles. A leased car typically returns to the market after 2 or 3 years, and the sudden surge in leasing means that large numbers of electric vehicles will arrive in the used market all at once. From 2023 to 2025, the numbers were manageable, with roughly 10,000 to 20,000 used electric vehicles entering the market each year. But this pattern is changing rapidly. Industry analysts now expect that starting around 2028, nearly 1 million used electric vehicles will flow into the market every year, creating a level of supply the industry has never seen before. When the market receives such a large volume of similar vehicles at the same time, prices naturally fall as sellers compete for a limited pool of buyers. Gasoline cars do not face the same pressure because their leasing rates remain far lower, and their technology does not advance in a way that makes older models feel outdated so quickly. Electric vehicles, however, feel the combined effect of rapid technological improvement and concentrated leasing cycles, which magnify the drop in value as each new wave of returned vehicles enters the market. For used car lots, this means rows of similar electric models arriving within the same few months, all needing to be priced low enough to move quickly. For families shopping on a budget, it means more options, but also more questions about why so many electric vehicles are suddenly available. As the supply continues to rise, the pressure on prices becomes almost unavoidable, and the decline grows sharper than most owners ever anticipated. This creates a natural question about what comes next. Will the rapid drop in value continue as more vehicles return from lease terms, or is there a point at which the market finally stabilizes and electric vehicles begin to hold their value more steadily? As drivers and analysts look ahead, the question of what comes next grows more important, especially as the market prepares for the next wave of returned electric vehicles. Some of the forces that pushed values downward in recent years are beginning to shift, and these changes may slowly ease the pressure that has shaped the used market. The end of major federal incentives means that new electric vehicles no longer receive the same large discounts at the point of purchase, and this helps correct the early price distortion that once carried into the used market. Without that initial drop in effective price, the gap between new and used values may begin to narrow. Leasing is also expected to decline as fewer models qualify for benefits that previously made leasing attractive. And as this trend continues, the surge of returned electric vehicles should gradually lessen. With fewer cars flooding the used market at once, sellers may no longer need to compete as aggressively on price, allowing values to fall at a slower pace. Another shift is happening on the consumer side. Charging infrastructure continues to expand across highways, suburbs, and small towns, making long trips feel more predictable and reducing one of the biggest sources of hesitation among potential buyers. As access to charging improves and drivers feel more confident about everyday use, the perception of electric vehicles may begin to align more closely with their actual performance. There is also the possibility that the pace of technological change will slow as the industry matures, which would reduce the speed at which older models begin to feel outdated. If improvements become more incremental than dramatic, the difference between generations will shrink, and used vehicles may hold their value more steadily. For some buyers, long-term ownership already provides a clear path forward. A vehicle that is kept for 8 or more years eventually reaches a point where depreciation levels off, and at that stage, electric vehicles and gas vehicles show far more similar patterns of value. These changes suggest that the market may gradually stabilize, creating a future where electric vehicles no longer face such dramatic drops in price. Yet even with these improvements, one final question remains, and it is the one that many households must consider before making their next purchase. What strategy should families choose as they navigate a market that continues to evolve? For many households, the question of strategy becomes clearer once they begin to understand how the market is changing and how their own habits fit into that shift. The debate around depreciation is important, yet it becomes far less overwhelming when families look at how long they plan to keep a vehicle and what they expect from it over time. Drivers who hold on to their cars for 8 years or more often experience a very different reality from those who trade frequently, because most of the depreciation has already occurred by the time long-term ownership reaches the middle of its life. For these households, an electric vehicle can remain a stable choice as operating costs stay low and the value levels out in a way that mirrors a traditional gas model. Families who prefer to change cars every few years face another set of considerations. For them, the unpredictability of resale values makes leasing a safer path because it shields them from sudden drops and lets them move to newer technology without carrying the risk of a steep decline. As more electric vehicles enter the market, leasing provides a way to experience the technology while avoiding the volatility that still shapes the used market. Households with tighter budgets may also find opportunity in this transition. As prices adjust downward, used electric vehicles become more accessible and offer an entry point that would have been out of reach when the models were new. For drivers who simply need affordable transportation and are comfortable with predictable daily routes, this shift opens doors that were not available only a few years ago. What stands out across these choices is that the electric vehicle market is still moving through a period of transition, and the landscape families see today may look very different in the years ahead. As incentives fade, infrastructure expands, and technology matures the market edges closer to balance, and drivers gain more control over how they participate in it. In the end, the decision rests not on a single number, but on how each household lives, travels, and plans for the future. This rapid transformation is only the beginning, and the nation is entering a moment where the choice of how to move from place to place becomes more than a matter of preference. It becomes a mirror that reflects the direction of the American economy itself,